So not only the sandy surface or sandy shore, you also have muddy and you have rocky, right? Let us go and see what this rocky intertidal area looks like and what are the challenges organisms are facing in order to live in the rocky intertidals. I will cover quickly by saying that there is a vertical zonation in the rocky area. Okay, so it means that you have a area where you have a constant water below the lowest low tide, right? And then you have lowest low tide, similar to how is there in the sandy area. You have mid tide, and then you have highest high tide and high tide, right? Lowest high tide and then high tide zone. Now, if you see that the vertical zonation of the marine organisms along the vertical rock in the rocky area is very much prominent. You look that most of the shelled organisms are occupying the spray zone. Spray zone, it means only the that splash of the water is coming in this particular area. Then you have the highest high tide zone, and you have chitons, limpets, and all those organisms in this high tide area, which is most of the time either exposed or vulnerable to several abiotic factors like air, temperature, and all those things, desiccation. In the middle zone, you have slight, or you still have the shelled organisms, but the cells are not as thick as you can see in the highest high tide area organisms. You have chitons, limpets, and all those things, right? Further, if you go down, you have soft body organisms and the algae. For algae, I would say that they are present in all, in the lowest, in the middle, and the high tide, because some of the algae, for example, Chetomorpha, it's a green algae, it's there in the Kovalam seaweed, I mean beach. They have the capacity to retain the moisture for a long time. So it means that they have the adaptive mechanism, or they have the adaptation to retain the moisture. Also, they are producing a lot of mycosporin like amino acids and other secondary metabolites, which are capable to protect them from the harmful ultraviolet radiations or harmful solar radiations, right? So depending on those capability, the organisms will be arranged in the vertical manner, right? Then you have the sea anemones, and you have other stuffs in the subtidal or the sublittoral zone, or otherwise in the low tide zone, in particularly here, where almost most of the time there will be a good amount of water if we compare from the highest high tide, high tide zone or the mid tide zone. Okay, so biodiversity is mostly dominated by the algae and the invertebrates, and there is a typical biological zonation on the rocky intertidal area, and mostly the most prominent one is the most shelled one. Shelled organisms are there in the top, and the most soft body organisms are there in the bottom. Also, if you see that most of these organisms do produces a very strong secretions that helps them to adhere to the rock. So even when there is a wave action which is coming, suppose here, then it will not be displacing those organisms. So we can say that these celled organisms, if you see all the examples, limpets, chitons, mollusks, oysters, whatever example you take, they produces this secretions which helps them to adhere to the rock. And then, as I already said, that there are seaweeds which has the potential to shape their leaves in order to tolerate the wave action, that is a mechanical stress for them. Okay, so this is how organisms are adapted to the rocky intertidal area.